Okay, so welcome back to another Bitwig tutorial, and in this one we need to talk about the macros. Why do we need them? Why are they useful? Okay, so right now this is my sound. This is going to be an ARP. I'm going to be working with this. It's just a polysynth with a tiny delay and a tiny reverb. That's all. Pretty simple. So the macros are controls that we get to modulate different things or to alter different values at the same time. And maybe you're thinking, okay, so isn't this what we get on this one? Well, yeah, kind of. But this one works maybe on a different way. So I'm going to go right here and notice that you get the presets page on the remote controller. This is the remote, is not the macros. And maybe I want to control some knob. So I'm going to go and select this one. And I'm going to say, okay, so this one is going to go and control the noise, okay? So notice that the noise is going to be mapped to this key, so to this knob. So now if I move the noise is going to just move along with that one. It's just how it works. Okay, so I'm going to go right here and just close it and say, no, I don't want to save it. So now, then we get the macros. And the macro is macro 1 and macro 4. So you get a single macro or 4 different macros. I'm going to start with this one. So right now we can achieve the same thing with the noise. I'm going to go to the noise. I'm going to say, okay, so this macro is going to be the noise. Whenever I go up, we're going to go up by this amount, right? So I'm going to go to the noise, and if we go up, we go up by that amount. Pretty simple, pretty easy to understand. But at the same time, maybe I want to do a little bit of drive, just a tiny bit. I'm going to go up in noise, and we go up in drive at the same time. And of course you can go and rename the sound to noise, drive, whatever. And it's that simple. This is what a macro is going to do. We can grab this and map it to different, to different controls. Another thing that you can do with this one, let me just go add a new macro, is that you can control bipolar values. If you don't know what bipolar is, for example, let's say that we have right here, maybe the shape, right? We have the shape right here. So notice it's 0%. And if I go into minus values, it's going to change the shape. But if I go up in values, it's going to change the shape as well. But it changes on a different way. So yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that this one is going to be bipolar because we can go up or we can go down. So if we are 50%, it means that it's going to be 50%. So I'm going to go and I'm going to move it just a tiny bit, because if not, it's just going to get a little bit crazy. Okay. So I'm going to go and do the same thing with the other shape. Why not? Since we are here. So now when we move this controller, this macro is going to go up or is going to go down. That's why it's going to be bipolar. We can, control negative and positive values. Right. Now, of course, this is the first approach that you get to work, work with this. You can control, you can map this to a control of different controls and then just control them with your mouse. The other way of using macros is to control them with some kind of a modulator. For example, I'm going to go and do a beat LFO, right? It's going to be the dumbest beat LFO. I'm not going to maybe change anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, okay, so now this one is going to move along with that, that beat LFO. And this one is bipolar. So maybe I'm going to do it bipolar right here to this one. So we can really use this one. So now we don't need to do it with our hand anymore. And it's just going to go and do it for us. Maybe we can go faster. Right. Okay. So what happens if I want to do, more? You're going to be adding more buttons. Okay. More macros. Well, yeah. Well, if you want to add more, you can have the macro now, the macro 4. And the difference between the macro 4 and the single macro is that you get 4 different macros on one single place. So you can add macro 4, and you can have, 12. So yeah, a lot of macros. And right here, you can do the same exact thing we've been doing right here. So let's say I'm going to go on this one and I'm going to map a little bit of the frequency and a little bit of the resonance. And this one is going to be, the second one is going to be a little bit of the envelope right here. And maybe a little bit of the, I don't know, sustain and a little bit of the decay, all right? So I'm just, kind of randomly selecting values. So of course, if I go and play this is going to be the frequency. Notice that it's going up right here. And this one is going to, of course, is going to be everything else. But just like we did before, we can go and map this to whatever movement we want, and this one will completely change the sound. Alright. So this is why I'm telling you, macros are very useful to control different parts of your synth or your sound. But they're also very nice or just cool to use with modulators. So maybe I want to go right here and I want to change the unison by quite a bit. So this is going to be my unison macro. But now I'm going to go and bring something else. Like, I don't know, maybe a step. So now this, of course, this instruction is going to be this one. And I'm going to go and do something kind of a crazy. And notice the complexity of the sound. Something we just, we cannot do with, anything else. Alright. So that's it. This is the macros. And again, my opinion is this is kind of a very basic to anything that you want to do on Bitwig. Whenever you use modulators or whenever you want to use effects and you want to control, a bit more control, macros are kind of the way to go. They're very useful, very useful. All right. So hopefully you learned something. And remember to like and subscribe, and of course to check Patreon. Everything I release right here on this channel is gets released on Patreon, maybe weeks or days or months earlier. So okay, so hopefully you had fun. See you on the next one.